there are seniors ready to be phased out and there are youngsters ready. No question about it when it comes to T20 cricket. If Indian cricket is where it is today, you must thank the IPS. I believe in a system and I believe selectors have a role to play. If there is an opportunity to contribute, I will certainly contribute. There's no question about it.
Ravi, so you were talking about, an end of an era. When you talk about, the way the Australians have been managing the players, right? They have some senior people, they incorporate some youngsters, there's a fine balance, and then they phase them out. If you put that in Indian context, how should that be done today? Who are the players who should be phased out? Who are the senior players who should be there? And which are the youngsters that should come in right now? Let's talk about Test first.
See, I don't believe in naming players. I believe in a system, and I believe selectors have a role to play. An important role to play because they watch cricket more than anybody else. Even if I'm part of an Indian cricket team, if I'm coach of the team, I'm not watching those players. So I go on the word of the selectors. But there comes a time where the team management knows, who are the people to phase out and who are the people to look for. And you only phase out people when you have ammunition, you have replenishments, and that's when sometimes the hard call could have to be made. You mentioned Australia.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of Australia. Then you will know where I'm coming from. Adam Gilchrist, right? As a youngster, doing extremely well on the other side was Ian Healy. Ian Healy could have easily played for another year, 2 years. He was that good. But they saw someone at a particular age who was good enough to take on the world and be a world beater for Australia. So a hard call was taken. The word was communicated to Healy and Gilchrist came in. Similarly, with plenty of batsmen, Michael Slater was communicated to and Justin Langer came in. Similarly, with a lot of middle order batsmen there, Dean Jones went out, the Waugh brothers came in. Damian Martin went out, someone else came in. The Hussies came in. Similarly with the fast bowlers. So that is something which is the role of the selector along with the establishment, along with the think tank. So there has to be a level of communication that is that high, that has the vision to see where you want to be. The way I look at it, my vision would always be to have a very strong Indian team. And you can only have a very strong Indian team across formats if you have a combination of youth and experience. I will not just go for youth because for the sake of going for youth. That youth should be able to compete or be on the heels of that guy who's experienced. If that is the case, my sense of direction will be towards the youngster.
Right. Ravi, you mentioned that you mentioned that you don't want to mention names. I'm not asking you for names, but are there seniors in this present sport who can be phased out? And does India have youngsters who are ready to come in?
I think more in the white ball format. Yes, there are seniors ready to be phased out and there are youngsters ready. No question about it when it comes to T20 cricket. Okay. Lesser in 50 over cricket and even fewer when it comes into test match cricket. And the reason I say is because of the IPL, you see an abundance of high quality young white ball players coming. But one should not get carried away by seeing that and then thinking they should be automatic red ball choices. No, I would rather see their red ball record. I would sit with the selectors and find out who they've got the runs against, what conditions, what are their strengths, what's the temperament of the bloke like. For me, temperament is the catalyst. It's paramount. Means, does the guy have a stomach for a fight? Does the guy have the character that when it gets hot in the kitchen, he's ready to bite the bullet? I mean, these are qualities I see in a player. When I used the word fearless as a coach, it was not just coming from anywhere. These are the qualities that make a fearless cricketer. His ability to back his own ability, back his strengths, and not to waver from that. So, it's all these things. And luckily for India, the volume of players that play the game as opposed to other countries, I think you should always have a strong bench strength across formats.
Ravi, you mentioned characters which you epitomize, which is like bite the bullet. That's what you want to see in a youngster. Well, I just want to come to the one-day cricket and T20 next, but I just want to address this thing about, what happened in the World Test Championship and this IPL debate. Now, do you think the senior players should have skipped IPL or at least spent some time and gone to England earlier?
There has to be a balance. If you know when the Test cricket is going to be, World Test Championship is going to be played, you have to be very clear about your priorities in the future. Is it the World Test Championship where India plays, or is it the IPL where franchise cricket is? So hence I said it that day live on television, that before you sign contracts with the franchises, there should be clauses which give the right to the parent body, the custodians of the sport, to take these important decisions in the need of the country. Right. So there's no gray area.
Right.
The franchisee knows this can happen.
Right.
I can understand if that team is in a final of the tournament, and that game is important, you can think about that.
Right.
But when it comes to, say, some real fast bowlers who will be needed in conditions like that exists in England,
right,
and you need them to pull out or balance their workload, then the BCCI, the custodians, the parent body should have the absolute right, like we see in other countries. If
right.
Australia thought the World Test Championship was the most important thing, I mean, they literally ensured no fast bowler played.
Right.
If you look at it.
How do you then, when do you play IPL? How do you think about IPL so that it can help Indian cricket rather than be a bit of a disturbance?
I don't think IPL is one bit of a disturbance. If Indian cricket is where it is today, you must thank the IPL.
You think the players?
I know people won't like it, but I should say from the hip, you must thank the IPL. It has produced so many cricketers that have moved on from playing for IPL to being top-class Test cricketers. I mean, right from Hardik to Jasprit to Rishabh to, you can name so many. A Jaiswal or you can name so many young players who can the IPL, and then people start looking at what they've done in first-class cricket rather than the other way around. So it is a massive stage which has to be. It's the goose that lays the golden egg. So never point finger at that goose. You see how that more eggs can be laid. That is the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
And how it can be used in the best possible way to do exactly what you're saying.
That's what I meant.
Give players
how can it be used in the best possible. That's what I meant. How can it be used in the best possible?
See, for white ball cricket, there's no tension. There's no sweat.
Yeah.
The only challenge comes when it comes to red ball cricket, and that too only with this tournament. So either this tournament gets, is the scheduling of this tournament should change, probably by another couple of weeks,
right,
or 10 days to accommodate the IPL, or the other solution, like what I told you, where 3-4 players who would be important in those conditions are pulled out. You don't have to pull out all.
Right.
Like, for example, I will tell you, the Australian team landed, you're saying 20-25 days or 20 days before that. Australian team landed in England on the 30th.
Yeah.
And from what I believe, they played golf on the 31st. They had 3 or 4 days of practice. They had a day off. They had 2 days of practice. They had an optional practice the day before the game, and they played the World Test Championship. That's it.
Yeah, got your point.
So, it's all this theory about being there early, acclimatizing, all that is bullshit. It is more, more spending time in the nets, understanding what the conditions will demand in England and practicing towards that.
Right. So, Ravi, they're coming back to things. So, India hasn't won an ICC trophy since 2013 under MS Dhoni. Do you think? Do you think it's a captaincy issue? Why haven't the other captains been able to win? And a follow-up question to that is: do you think we've become chokers? A tag which was earlier given to South Africa, or is that unfair?
Not at all. I wouldn't say that, especially when a team that has won these two teams that were playing were the only two teams that had a chance to win all 3 World Cups.
Right.
So I believe in World Cups. World Cups are the big things. And it's not that we've been rolled over. We've been in semi-finals. We've been in finals. We've not got it, because when you want to win the big one, you need a combined effort. You can't blame one individual, one captain, nothing. You need hundreds. If you get hundreds in a World Cup, World Test Championship final, you have a good chance of winning that trophy and setting it up for the bowlers. Okay? If you don't get 100, you need at least 350. Now, whether it is Test match cricket, whether it is T20 cricket, whether it is one-day cricket. Now, the question you have to find out is, have we done that? If you haven't done it, you don't deserve to. No captain can win it. But if you have done it, then if you have won it, then you see there's a reason behind it.
Having said that, Ravi, there's one thing which I think it was a brilliant quote. You were talking somewhere, and I heard this. You were telling this person who you were talking to that people were pulling you down when you were the coach. People were pulling you down, but you said, I remember this, and I remember this so clearly. You said, "I got skin that is as thick as a Duke's cricket ball." Right? Is that something that is needed in today's cricket, with the captains and the coaches? Is that kind of thick, Duke ball, thick skin that is needed?
No, it has to be the toughest hide in the world. I don't care, it's Dukes or Kookaburra. I give Jack. It has to be hide of the highest quality. Where you're unruffled, because in a country like India, so it has to be even tougher. So you need that kind of hide in my country. Where the expectations are high, you're judged every day of your life. And only word that people know is win. And I don't blame them, because they love the game. They're passionate about the game.
Yeah.
They are the ones who make the stars. Right. They're the ones who give adulation to the team. They make from heroes, they make them superheroes. So, it's a catch-22. But what you should know is that this game carries on for 11 months of the year. So you're going to have your bad days and good days. Now, where you are going to be rated is if you have more good days in a large point. Right. So, like, when someone told me when your stint, India had a winning ratio above 65%. I said, that's all I can do. So don't ask for anything else. I'm human. The boys are human. Try whatever you do in your life, and you will appreciate what I have done. As simple as that. I don't care what your name is. If you can do it in your life, you've done exceedingly well. That's all I can tell you. If you go more than that, then you should compare yourself with the All Blacks.
That's great, Ravi. So, Ravi, let's go to the one days, right? Going to this World Cup. How should we approach it? Remove anybody? You said T20 drastic changes. No, World Cup, one day. How do we look at it? What are the preparations?
First of all, there should never be a knee-jerk reaction, because the format is because of what happened in the World Test Championship. I don't think there's any panic that's needed. You must understand it's a different format. It's a format in which India is very good at. They're playing at home. I think they're one of the favorites. I'm telling you now. I think they can win this one, provided they get the right balance of experience and youth,
Right.
for Indian conditions. And there's enough time now to identify, the squad that you want and go out there and play. And if, you get your full strength side, I think India will be, favorites there to win this one.
You're saying the India favorites are India and Australia.
Yeah, I would say India are favorites with England and Australia for that World Cup
Right.
in
See,
India,
this,
for sure. No question about that.
yeah, even the batsman, like you saw the IPL. Are there any youngster that you think can be the part of the mix leading up to the World Cup, or at least
I
you
think
reckon?
there are plenty there threatening, and
Can you
depending,
name the top five? You name the top
Riyadh,
five.
you have a lot of injuries these days. So, I always would like to keep a pool of 15, 20. You should always be prepared. You should have a backup B, backup C. Like I'll give you an example. When we went to Australia for that famous series in 21,
Yeah.
we were in quarantine for 14 days, and we took a flight with about 30 players, 30, 35 players, some net bowlers.
Yeah.
And I remember on that flight, there was Shardul Thakur, and I think there was Washi who were, just having a chat with me. And I told Shardul, I said, this is not a holiday. I don't think this is a holiday where you're a net bowler and you're coming. Just remember, you can play anytime. Anytime you might get the opportunity. So start preparing yourself from day one in that manner. You get what I mean? You
Yeah.
prepare
Yeah.
yourself in that manner from day one. Same with Washi. And as lo and behold comes the last test match where I have no one else to pick. These guys play and do a wonderful job. So similarly here, like you mentioned, the youngsters, there are so many. There's Jaiswal, and I might miss out a few here.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's Tilak Varma. There's that Nahel Vadera from this thing. There's Sudarshan who played so well in the final of this thing. There's Jitesh Sharma. There's Sanju who, I believe has still to realize his potential. Is a match winner on his own. You know, there's something there that is missing. I'll be very disappointed if he doesn't go out or finishes his career all guns blazing. Uh, it is like when I was the coach, I would have been very disappointed if Rohit Sharma had not played in my side as a regular test match player. Hence his opening the batting. So similarly, I feel with Sanju. Uh, Amongst the bowlers, there's a crop of young fast bowlers that have come. Quite a few. There's Mukesh. There's the two or three. The names don't come to my mind now, but there's at least four or five who can be groomed. They're
Right.
around that 135, 140 mark. They're young, you know, and they can be groomed. So I'm not worried about the talent that exists in white ball. Where I am a little concerned is the red ball depth.
Yeah.
So, that we can address later because this
Yeah.
World Test Championship is over.
Yeah.
There's not much Test cricket
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
this West Indies. So if the focus is on white ball and West Indies, there's plenty. There's plenty there.
Right. So talking about white ball, continuing with the World Cup cricket preparations, at one day. What about the batting, opening? Do you think it's decided, Shubman and Rohit?
No, that's going to be a challenge. You'll have to see closer to the event. See, current form again becomes important. You need to strike the right balance. Do you think a left-hander in there will make a difference? In the top, it doesn't have to be opening it in the top 3 or 4. Will that make a difference? You have to weigh all those options. Ideally, in the top 6, I'd like to see 2 left-handers.
Right.
If I had anything to go by combination, anything to go with the past, whenever you've done well,
Right.
left-handers make, when you won the World Cup in 2011, you had Gambhir, you had Yuvraj, you had Raina. I mean, you go down memory lane to start off with 74. Kalicharan, Fredericks, Lloyd, you name it. Same in the 79. 83 was the only team that didn't have a left-hander,
Right.
and that was a tournament against all odds, India
Yeah.
beating the West Indies. You go back again to 87, Australia had enough. They had that border at the top. They had another two, three, down the order in left-handers. 96, Sri Lanka proved it again. Jay Surya, Rana Tunga, Guru Singha. You had any number of left-handers there that created it. And then Australia, with all the Gilchrist and the Haydens. And so, that mix has to be there. Which England have now. England, if you see their sides with the Stokes and some guys, there's right hand Owen Morgan was there for a long time. That mix has to be created, and then that balance has to be created.
So that would be like probably Ishan Kishan. What if Pant is not fit? Samson or
You have Ishan Kishan. You've got in the wicket keeping department. You've got Sanju. You've got Ishan there. You've got Jitesh Verma, who's very good, but this is more 50 over, so I think his time will come later. But
right.
The left-handers, you have got Jaiswal, you've got Tilak Verma, you've got, there's enough there, enough left-handed talent that can, replace any senior player at the moment if he's injured.
Right. What about the bowling department then, Shah Ravi? Because you have Bumrah, we don't know whether it's going to be the same.
Yeah, that's the concern. That's the concern. You want him fit because he's such a world-class operator. You want him fit, but you want him fully fit because there again, he's such an important cricketer.
Right.
You think, should we rush him for the World Cup? And then you rush him and then lose him for 4 months after that. Much like Shaheen Afridi.
Right.
They rushed him into that T20 World Cup, Pakistan.
Right.
And then, he's not played since till just recently.
Right.
He was out for 4 months. So, you thin line you draw about being greedy and
right.
Wanting to play, but then you have to think of the individual, and the individual has to think for himself.
Right.
Sometimes, the you want to go back too soon, and it can be a costly error.
Yeah.
So it's something you got to look at. But otherwise, I think there's Shami, there's Siraj, so you've got experience. You don't need too many fast bowlers in India. It is more the spin department that also more or less covered. You've got Jaddu, Akshar, you've got a few leg spinners around you can pick from. There's Chahal, Kuldeep, there's Bishnoi. So you've got enough depth there.
But do you still believe in the Kulcha model that you promoted so much? Do you think they can be vital for the World Cup?
Absolutely. I mean, look at the last T20 World Cup also. Every team had a leg spinner who did well. And unfortunately, we had one and we didn't pick him.
And who will captain the side?
I think Rohit will captain the side and should. I mean, it's with 3 months to go to the World Cup. You don't want to too much. Rohit should lead the side. No question about that.
Okay, post World Cup, going to T20, you have said Hardik could be a probable captain. Probably
should be.
Should be. Do you see all formats? Do you think his body can cope with the Test cricket also?
I think after the this thing is oh no, it cannot cope with Test cricket.
Right.
It cannot cope with Test. Let's be very clear there. So after the World Cup, if he is fit enough, he should take over captaincy in white ball cricket.
White ball cricket. Right. Another thing, Ravi, I want to ask you about Bharat Arun, who was so dear to you. Do you think he could have played a crucial role in today's bowling department? Because he seemed to have got the bowlers at their peak, and is he someone who could have been there in today's Indian cricket team, coaching side?
No,
or should have been there?
You never lose that. He was magnificent, and he's done that for years. He was absolutely magnificent. He understood the mind of the bowler he was dealing with. He knew exactly how to communicate with him. He knew his strengths. Plus, he knew his own ability. He knew the subject.
Right.
He knew the subject. He knew the technical aspects, the biomechanical aspects of the subject itself. So he was and plus tons of experience. Having not just players or mentored players in the NCA, but having coached a lot of coaches. Right. Put him in a very elite position And that's one of the prime reasons. He was my first choice as a bowling coach all the time.
Right. Just one thing. Ashwin recently said, during earlier days, which could be your days, colleagues, like, his teammates or friends. Today it's colleagues. Today he referred to them as colleagues. Did you see that culture when you were, and do you see them as colleagues when you were a player as a coach, or is there something new?
For me, it was always colleagues. You'll have buddies who are colleagues, but I mean, friends. How many friends do anyone have? Close friends. If you go and ask anyone, they'll say probably 4 or 5 in their life.
Right.
And I'm happy with 5 friends, 5 close friends in my life. I don't want any more than that.
Right. Talking about friends.
No. So what I'm saying is colleagues, all the time colleagues, commentary box colleagues.
Colleague. But I think there was one friend in the commentary box of yours, which was Mr. Wani, because he
was a proper buddy. He was a proper buddy. Because you could talk anything with him. And the fun was, it was in between commentary stints, which made it even more exciting. So, you have that switch on, switch off.
Yeah.
You play a ball and you walk towards square leg, switch off, look at the crowd, come back, switch on again. Similarly in the commentary box. But the switch off with Wani used to be fantastic because the conversations would be varied. And it would be, you're pretty much on the same page. So it was fun.
Yeah, I remember the tribute you gave him, after having a couple of pints, that you said you can talk about from poker to porn and everything. So that is I think a brilliant tribute. A brilliant tribute to Wani. You miss him, Ravi? You miss Wani?
I do. It was you look at the game, over the last 30, 40 years, you look for personalities.
Yeah.
And then try and see if there was anyone bigger.
Right.
I don't think there was anyone bigger, more colorful, who lasted the test of time when it came to longevity, just knew how to get under the skin of the opposition, under the skin of the media, under the skin of everyone, all in sundry. And yet, each one of them would dwarf the hat at him when it came to sheer brilliance on a cricket field.
Absolutely.
He had one of the sharpest brains. He read batsmen quicker than most. And just the way he played the game. He wanted to take the game forward. He wanted to win, and he wanted to attack. And he was magnificent for the game. And a difficult art, leg spin. He was a master.
Yeah, it was mutual admiration. I know he adored you as well. So Ravi, I'll tell you, Indian cricket needs you. Indian cricket absolutely needs you, right? We are certain about it. So do you see yourself playing a role in cricket because it's important for us?
See, I've always maintained, I am who I am today is many ways because of the BCCI. Okay,
Right.
they have been your guardians, they have been your custodians from, in my case, since the age of 17.
Right.
Okay, ever since I played under 19 cricket.
Right.
Without them being the custodians or the establishment at that time, you would have never got the opportunities you got in life.
Right.
So it's something I'm always grateful to. There are times where you might not look eye to eye with them, but you never forget that they were your custodians.
Right.
And that overrides for me everything else.
Right.
So when you say there's a role for you to play, of course there's a role to play. You've got more than 4 decades of experience across every damn thing in the sport. And if there is an opportunity to contribute, I will certainly contribute. There's no question about it. And current role, what we are doing now is a very good and refreshing and heartwarming one. We run a coaching establishment. It's called Coaching Beyond with Bharat Arun and Sridhar, and my colleagues. We are the co-founders, and that's not just to coach grassroots. That is boys and girls. but also to coach coaches. And that's
Mhm.
doing exceedingly well. So if 2 or 3 come through that and go on to represent the country, that will be a great contribution in its own,
Right.
apart from a lot of other things. I mean, there's no question you cannot contribute in any capacity. Yeah.
Right. Last question, Ravi, before I let you go. You've seen the baseball going on in England. Some people say it's like a new form of cricket. So another school of thought has it. It's like they don't want to expose their inability of how do you put it? Inability in good technique, right? Which school of thought do you subscribe to?
I would have loved to be the opposing coach, for either of those. This thing, it would have been fun.
Yeah.
It would have It would have been fun to take it on firsthand,
Yeah.
and literally by the scruff of the neck, and see what happens.
Yeah.
It would have been good value, because it can have its good days, it can have its bad days. Only time will tell if the
Yeah.
good days outnumber the poor days.
Yeah.
Also, conditions will matter.
Yeah.
What conditions you can do it in. So
Absolutely.
it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm not someone who'll give it a green tick all the way that this is the only way it should be played, because I know it can have some really poor days, and
Right.
so only time will tell. We'll have to wait for it. But
Well,
it's
thank
exciting. It's
Yes,
exciting. The game's
it's
moving
very
forward.
exciting.
It's keeping people on edge, and that's what you want in Test match cricket. I mean, that's how we wanted to play the game in my
Absolutely.
tenure, to take the game forward, look for results, do not be scared of losing, because only when you learn how to lose will you know how to get up and learn how to win. So that
Absolutely.
fear of losing shouldn't be there, because in going for a win, you're bound to lose some.
Right. Absolutely. Thanks, Ravi. Thanks so much for your time. Bye.
Bye.